in general. And so the wonderful thing about this is that when you are operating at peak level performance, then things change, things happen, and they happen in wonderful ways. You get more successful, you move faster forward, and it just changes your life for the better. And that's phenomenal. And then there's business. What is that about? Well, business is multifaceted. It's marketing, it's sales, it's team building, it's very many multifaceted things that make you successful in business. And that's where most people concentrate the majority of their time and effort, is acquiring skills and skill set. And the thing is, you need to really master all three areas. And that can take time. So if you're strong at business and you don't have that strong mindset, then maybe concentrate on mindset. Conversely, if you have mindset going well, maybe some business needs to be attended to, get some skill set. Maybe you're not taking care of your body nutritionally or exercise. In any case, all you have to do is concentrate on that one area. And the beautiful thing is, on this show, I get to bring on wonderful, amazing guest experts like Erica Castner coming on in just a moment. I kid you not, I can't wait to bring her on. And we're going to talk about things that helped make her successful. How did she get where she is? You're going to be amazed with what she's done already in this short time on this earth. And I'm so blessed to be able to bring people like her on. And when it comes to success, I like to always implore about the importance of reading. I had the opportunity many years ago. I had the opportunity to be flown back east, was put into a hotel. I was brought in by a limo to sign a contract with a gentleman, multimillionaire CEO of a company, and it was a really awesome experience. Spent 2 days in his very large office, and at one point he looked at me. I'm sitting on his couch. This is in his office. He's on a couch, and he's looking at me and he goes, "Brian, if people only knew, if they just did this one thing, they'd all be rich." Wow, this is going to be good. What is it? And he basically said, read good books, not just any book, but those that will take you farther and take you more forward and get you there faster. And I made a huge mistake. I absolutely, completely ignored that advice. I mean, this is coming from a very successful individual, and I ignored it because I thought, there's no skin in the game. I can just pick up a book. I can go to a library and pick these books up for free. There's no skin in the game. That doesn't sound like that sounds weird to me. Thankfully, many years later after that, I ran into another gentleman who became my mentor. We ended up working together. I spoke from his stage, trained his students from stage, and at one point he was walking around his house and he was actually listening to books on something called Audible. Back then, that was a new thing. And I thought, well, I'm going to give that a shot. And since then, I just become a voracious reader and wanted to just give you guys a quick little resource, a little gift, if you will, in a quick little segment I appropriately call bookmarks.
Bookmarks. Born to read. Bookmarks. Ready, steady, read. Bookmarks. Brought to you by reachyourpeaklibrary.com.
Yes, there you see reachyourpeaklibrary.com right there on the side. And what that is a website I put together for you, for the entrepreneur, for the business person that is looking for the right books. The right books, as you see there on the website, highlighted in blue now. And I started compiling a list of the books that I was reading, started reading very, very quickly, that had impact on me personally or professionally, or both. And only those that did. So not every book I've ever read is in this list. And again, these are here for you. If you haven't started reading, here's a great resource for you. You can come here and just click on these buttons and go purchase them. This all goes straight to Amazon. So you can just get your book. You can either read it with your eyes, you can listen to it like I do, or you can get it on Kindle and do it electronically. They're all there. I put everything that was available for each book. And if you're already an avid reader, maybe you'll find another book in here. I love, sharing ideas with other entrepreneurs who are readers and get some great, great ideas on the next book to read. And so I just wanted to point that out. So that's reachyourpeaklibrary.com. Go ahead and write that down. Don't go there right now. So that's key to this entire show is stay here. Stay in the room, so to speak, because everything happens in the room. What if you were to be sidetracked and looking at a website or a resource that we're talking about on the show, and then Erica says something that could have changed your life, but you didn't hear it because you were sidetracked. Serious about this. Stay tuned in. Stay with us. Concentrate. Take notes on a piece of paper or on your tablet or computer, but stick with us on the show itself. Sound good? And speaking of Erica, you know what time it is? I think it's time we bring this amazing woman on. So here we go.
It's time for the Guest Expert Spotlight. Savvy, skillful, professional, adept, trained, big league, qualified.
And there she is, ladies and gentlemen. The one, the only, Erica Castner. Woo!
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. How are you doing this evening, Erica?
I'm a rockin' and rolling, Brian. How's it going? I'm super pumped to be on the show tonight, so very excited.
Thank you. I think I'm more pumped. It's just got to be honest.
Erica, I don't know. We might have a contest about that. So
we put some measurement device on us, see who's more pumped.
That's right.
So Erica is coming to us from Florida. I'm in Southern California. She's in Southwest Florida, and it's amazing how we get to do this, be here live together. Like we're across the street, we could hand each other a coffee or a water and just have a chat. And that's what we're going to do tonight. It's just two people, entrepreneurs that love to talk about what makes them successful so that others can take that information and apply whatever works for them to get them moving down that path as well. And so what I want to do is introduce Erica in just a moment. But first, before I do that, everyone watching right now live, you get the opportunity to win a 5-night stay at a 5-star luxury resort in Mexico. All compliments of my good buddy Jason Nast and his company called powertexting.com. It's a legitimate trip. It is not a lure to get you to sit in on a timeshare presentation. It's an actual legitimate trip. Stay on to the end and we'll give you the details on how you can enter for that. All right, let's get on to the woman of the hour. For over 2 decades, Erica Castner has helped business owners and service providers improve their teams, communication, and processes. She is passionate about assisting organizations improve their workforce or enhance client experience. In addition to working with small business owners, Erica has had the privilege of working with and for nationally recognized brands such as, you're going to love this list, Lancome Cosmetics, Victoria's Secret, Dress for Success, Fuel, and the Miss America organization, just to name a few. She has been featured as a guest contributor to over 200 podcasts, articles, and stages, that means speaking, including USA Today, Thrive Global, ABC, CBS, Huffington Post, and Digital Footprint Conference. I was thinking, man, I wish I had a bigger professional on the show, someone who's been out there and spoke a little bit, and I'm totally kidding. Erica, finally, how are you doing tonight? So glad to have you on.
I'm tired after that bio. No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. No, like I said, I am super touched, super honored to be here tonight. So thank you so much. And I am excited about the conversation we're having tonight because it really is truly about, you said in your opening remarks, mind, body, and spirit, or mind, body, and business. Like how do we tie all of those pillars together to really drive impact in our organizations? And so I'm fired up about what we're going to be chatting about tonight. So bring it on.
Bring it on. I love it. Well, cool. The bio was really good about, it's very impressive. I'll tell you that. Loved it. It does tell people that you're very accomplished. And what I like to do is, like right from the onset, is dig right into mindset and actually find out a little bit more about what makes Erica tick from the inside. Because that's really where your success comes from, isn't it? It's from the inside. It's the mind where everything emanates and starts from. And so I love this because it's a thing of curiosity that I love to ask so that our viewers can then understand more about what makes successful people think the way they do, or how do they think that makes them successful. So in your case, Erica, when you get up in the morning, this is a little story I like to tell almost every show is, you get up in the morning and, you're a little groggy. If you're anything like me, some get up right away. I'm groggy. Your feet hit the floor. and then you start to come to. Your senses start coming alive. You start waking up. You start thinking about the day ahead, and then that drive, those creative juices, everything starts welling up inside, and you're about at that point where you're going, okay, I'm ready to take on the day. Well, something you've done has motivated you to get to that point to where you're excited and ready to tackle the day with vigor. For you, Erica, what is that, or are those things that help you to get to that point?
Yeah, well, if I could backtrack just a hot second. So my career has spanned over the last 2 decades. It's amazing that I've been doing this since I was 5.
Wow.
But really in the last 6 years, it has been the most transformation in terms of my own mindset. So, I had this, climb the corporate ladder for the first half of my career. The second half of my career, moved to Southwest Florida, decided I wanted to get out of the corporate rat race, and decided to work with small businesses in a number of capacities. Won't get into that necessarily, but mindset work really started shifting for me about 6 years ago. And it started with simple routines. And I think for I bet a lot of professionals that are watching this today can identify with, the moment we wake up, sometimes we're focused on other people's agendas and we're not thinking about what we've got to do to drive success. And so I set up routines. And one of my routines that I look forward to is literally going out on my porch. And I'm fortunate enough that I live in Florida, so I have a screened-in lanai that I get to sit out, have my tea or my coffee, burn some incense, but literally get quiet and collective with my thoughts. And one of the things that my husband and I did about 2 years ago was to enhance that routine, was to put together almost like what we call, not a brag board, but it's almost like this accomplishment board, if you will. And it is pictures of our journey over the last 6 years. So the moment we wake up, that is what we look at. I mean, you could see the span. I wish I could show you my bedroom right now, but the whole wall that we wake up to is pictures of all these really tremendous experiences that we've had to drive impact and meaningful work within the stuff that we do. So even if you're feeling groggy, even if I'm feeling a little sluggish, I look at that wall and that's what fires me up. And then I go to my lanai and get fired up into my routine. And we can dive into that, but hopefully that'll kick our conversation off to a good start today with routines. So we'll talk about that because routines are so much a part of my success.
It's stellar that you bring that up. I absolutely love this because routine, there's other words that mean the same thing. I like to bring up the word discipline, that many people don't like that word. It does have some negative connotation if you were to look at it that way, but it doesn't if you know that it's going to take you farther faster. And routine and discipline, similar concept, almost identical. And that's what I've found is successful entrepreneurs follow routines. They are disciplined in doing that, and they do it all the time, every single day, without fail, just like you said. And everyone's routine, by the way, doesn't have to be the same. That's not the important part. The important part is that you'd establish one that does put you in that mindset. Like Erica just stated, it works for her. Do what works for you. Have fun with it. Try different things. I mean, she gets up, coffee, tea, quiet time. First, they look at their accomplishment board. I mean, that's phenomenal. I mean, think about that. You wake up like, wow, look what I just did. Now I'm awake and happy and excited. What else can I do? What else am I going to put on that board next? I can imagine. I love this. Fantastic. Yeah. Great. So before we came on, we were just having a little chat, Erica and I, secretly. No one else could hear us. But she was talking about one thing that really rung true with me. And I really, my ears got big. And I just wanted to touch on the area of, body, fitness. And I now know the answer to this question because you've already kind of told me. But for our audience and listeners, Erica, how important is physical fitness to you and your business and in your personal life as well? And go ahead and feel free to reveal what you're about to do with your husband here coming up soon.
Yeah. So I have to share this story. So, when I spoke in my earlier remarks about 6 years ago, making that pivotal shift from, being professional, but then really taking it to that next level. One of the things that I wanted to do 6 years ago was I was carrying about 35 more pounds than I am today. And I wasn't feeling good. I was feeling sluggish. I was feeling not as confident. And I feel like a lot of professionals, when we want to go out there and do things like the things that I do right now to position my brand, it's a very visual thing. And if you don't feel like you're most confident, or you don't look, it doesn't matter what size you are, but if you don't feel good about going out there and doing those things, you are not going to do those things, right? And so I was in that place where I wasn't visible. I was hiding behind my computer, and I was sick of it. I was done. I was over it. And on top of that, my husband and I, we had just got married. We were 6 months into our new marriage. And I just felt like personally, there were a lot of things that were falling apart. And I felt that if I got healthier, if I got more focused on doing things that were going to make me feel more confident about myself and drag my husband along, because in retrospect, I mean, I wasn't going to tell him he needed to lose, 30 pounds either. But we both were in that place where we were just complacent and working all the time and just eating whatever we needed to do. So we both made that commitment together. So we started running. That was our sport of choice. I'm not necessarily an athlete by any stretch of the imagination. And we would run here and there. We would sign up for a 5K here and there. Last year, I'm happy to report that we actually did our very first marathon. And then in 2019, as we're recording this, we are committed to doing our first sprint triathlon. The funny thing about that is I can't swim. So I'm learning how to swim right now to make that happen. And as we're recording this, my triathlon is in like 90 days. So I've got a lot of work to do in a short amount of time, but I'm committed to doing it. And it's so important because it totally drives everything else. I structure my workouts around the other things I've got to do. I mean, it's part of my routine. It's part of my schedule. It's very important.
That is amazing. I mean, come on. I'm crazy, you don't know how to swim, and in 90 days you're going to be swimming a long distance. And
yeah, I think it's like a fourth of a mile, but I was telling a girlfriend that today, and she was like, honey, that is a long way. That's a long way. I says, okay, well, at least it's not like an Ironman. I mean, I think that's like a mile 0.2 swim, but anyway, we shall see. So I'm hoping there's a lot of people to rescue me if I need it that day.
I'm beyond impressed that you would even think to do that. I mean, I've known people who didn't know how to swim, and it would terrify them to no end to even think about this. You've made the decision, and I'm convinced you're going to do it. You're in. You're done.
Oh yeah.
You're learning how to swim. I'm like, oh gosh, Erica, you just defined the entrepreneurial spirit right there, because that is the absolute epitome of one getting out of their comfort zone, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's interesting you bring that up, Brian, because like I feel like that there's, and I'm sure we'll talk about this throughout our chat tonight, but I feel like a lot of people get stuck, they get complacent, and then they feel like they have no choice. But it's like if you just made the decision to do it, like it's amazing what will happen if you just make up your mind and say, yes, I'm going to go do that. Now, whether or not it happens in the time frame that you expect it, I wanted to start my training a lot earlier in the year, and I had some personal issues that were keeping me, a couple surgeries. I'm not going to get into that tonight, but a couple like surgeries that I had to sit on the sidelines. So there's that aspect of it. But if you can make up your mind and say, you know what, come hell or high water, I'm going to do this. It's amazing not to get all like woo-woo about this, but it's amazing what happens when the universe is like, okay, that man or that woman is on board. I'm going to support that initiative to make stuff happen. It's pretty powerful.
There's nothing woo-woo about it when it works, It's just none.
True.
I used to think, back when and you probably did too, the very first time you heard these concepts, like that's kind of woo-woo. Bro, yeah. Come on now. That's no. I don't want to go down that path. That's a little woo-woo for me. Well, the thing is, the only way one can learn is if their mind is open, just like a parachute. If you jump out of a plane and your parachute doesn't open, well, that's not a good thing. As an entrepreneur, you've already jumped out of a plane, so open the dang parachute. And that way you'll not only land safely, but you'll have a great ride all the way down. You'll be enjoying it. It'll be thrilling, exhilarating. I just made that whole metaphor up. Is that pretty cool?
That's awesome. I love it. In the throes of a live show.
Exactly. And yes, we started with some technical glitches I saw, but we're powering through. It's all good now. Let's see. We were talking, I see him behind you too, I was talking about the importance of reading books. Like I have some back here. And I was just curious if possibly, perhaps, that you yourself were an avid reader, and even if you're not an avid reader, either way, what business-related book would you say has inspired you the most that you've picked up? It could be recent, it could be the one you first picked up, any book that comes to mind.
Yeah. There's a number of books, like you have a list, I have a list. As you can see kind of behind me, I do have half of my book list or my bookshelf displayed. I'm a big fan of Audible. One of the books that I feel like really stands out in my mind, and it's not necessarily a business book per se, but The Alchemist is one of my favorite books. And it's one that my husband turned me on to. I appreciate, and it's a quick read on Audible. It's about a 4-hour listen on Audible, and Jeremy Irons, fun fact for you all, that if you haven't heard it yet, Jeremy Irons, the voice of Scar on The Lion King, reads the book. So it's I love listening to the book, but it really talks about the journey. And again, it's not necessarily a business book per se, but the story is this parable about one's journey to find happiness. And I'm not going to spoil the punchline for you all, but I feel like in a lot of ways, we are constantly seeking. And, I don't want to speak for anybody that's watching this, but, if you're in that moment where you're constantly seeking and you're trying to find joy, you're trying to find happiness, and then you find yourself being elated with all this work that you've done, and then you come back to square one and you're like, what the hell did I do all that work for? I could have just, that, my friends, you got to fall in love with the journey, and you've got to be committed to all the twists and turns that are going to happen. And sometimes what's right in front of you, I will say this about the book, sometimes what's right in front of you, it might not necessarily be ready for you to get it, if that makes any sense. So if you have something within arm's reach and then you go and do something different, or you pivot, for some reason, you probably aren't ready to receive whatever it is that's within arm's reach, because you've got to do something else in order to achieve it. So don't ever look at something, and I'll get away from the book for a moment, but don't ever look at something and say, okay, I should be at this level, or I should do this, or blah, blah, blah. Just appreciate the journey and the process, because that is going to help shape you, and it's going to help propel you. Honestly, more so than anything, if you can get excited about the journey and just say, you know what, I'm not on the track, but I'm on a track. And so with that, I'm alive, I'm kicking. What else can I do to fire things up? So Alchemist, one of my favorite all-time reads, and we could pontificate upon that, but I think I've said enough about the book.
That's actually brilliant. That goes right in line with the fact that you have an accomplishment board, not a vision board of something you want in the future. Yeah. So that was in perfect alignment with everything you just said. And it's The Alchemist. I'm getting that. I'm reading that next. And I loved how you said, a lot of times things are right in front of you and you're not even aware because you're not ready. And it just reminds me of a funny little movie I once saw that many of you may have seen, called Bruce Almighty. Do you remember that with... Jim Carrey. Thank you, Jim Carrey. And there was this one scene, will never forget it. I wear this story out, I love it, where he's driving in the rain, it's dark, and he's despondent, and he's driving, everything's gone wrong, can't get his girl back, and he's like, all right, God, I give up, that's it. Whatever you want, God, just give me a sign. And then right at that moment, the camera shows the front of the car, and in front of his car is a stake bed truck with all these literal road signs pointing at him saying, stop, go back, do this, do that. And he sees it, and he goes, come on, God, any kind of sign. And the next scene is, he's plowed into a pole because he wasn't ready for the message that came to him. And it's a perfect metaphor for that it is true. It's interesting, right? Erica, have you ever read one book more than once, the same book?
Oh yeah, of course. And, a lot of my, I have a few mentors that have suggested that I read things with highlighters, read, something January 1 and read it through. And then next year, make that same commitment to reread it with a different highlighter. I've heard that from a number of mentors, too many to probably count for the show tonight, but it's truly something that you have to, but I think that there isn't an appropriate amount of times to read a particular book. I feel like if one hits you, and you feel like you need to reread it again. I know Ed, when he was on his marathon last year, he had either read or heard The Alchemist 6 times already, and that was what he listened to on his and how appropriate, right? When you're on a marathon, how appropriate to read a book about your marathon journey of life. So yeah, I mean, he's listened to it a number of times. I have too. So there's no shame in that.
Yeah, no, exactly. Just the opposite, because I've done this often from stage while I'm teaching students and say, how many of you have ever done that? Read a book more than once? And they all raise their hand. They go, okay, I pick one of them out. So was it the same? Did it seem the same the second time you read it? And she'd say, well, no, actually it didn't. I said, well, wait a minute. Was it the same book? She goes, yeah. I said, okay, were the same number of pages? Yeah. Did you tear any out the last time? You know, I haven't making a point. And I said, so wait, the book didn't change. What changed? And she thinks for a minute, well, I guess it was me. That's right. And now it's so amazing how you pick up things differently after you have, quote unquote, matured beyond the first point that you were the first time you read it, or even the second, you know, before the next subsequent time. And it's so cool how you'll read it and go, man, I don't remember that. I don't even remember that last time. I would listen to audios by a mentor of mine who did a full 2-day seminar, and I listened to him over and over and over because I'm training myself to be his speaker and train his students. And that happened to me every single time I listened, and I listened to him. I can't count how many times. It's just a phenomenal thing that happens, and I get excited about it because, like you said, you find that one book that has impact on you, then definitely go back. Audible's a great way because you could just hit bookmark on the Audible thing and go back and look at all the bookmarks you just had, and then go review those. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, love it. It's good
very
stuff.
Cool, very cool. What are you up to now? What's next on your plate as a businesswoman? What is like going for you? I mean, I have no idea. Are you going to appear somewhere, go on a stage, get on another podcast, hit another client, travel across the world?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So one of the biggest initiatives I'm working on right now, I have discovered I've actually had my company now just over 4 years. I have a long career, but I decided to finally give up working for somebody else and take this act on the road by myself. Of course, I have a small team that supports some of the behind the scenes initiatives. But one of the things that I really started looking at in terms of the clients that I was working with or that I currently work with is especially as the organization grows or as the teams bring on new staff. Oftentimes in my neck of the woods, which I live in Southwest Florida currently right now, there are a lot of corporations locally here that recruit talent from other markets. And one of the things that I was discovering in just the conversations I was having inside of the Southwest Florida economic development climate was that people that move to this area don't necessarily acclimate as fast. I was fortunate 14 years ago. I got an opportunity to work for a company who's very involved with the community, very focused on driving awareness. And it forced me out of the nest, if you will, metaphorically. Like I was very much used to having people come to me when I worked for these larger retailers. But when I now had to work for this small mom and pop operation, and my job was to go out there and get business or get opportunities and pound the pavement, we did that through community initiatives. And so it behooves organizations to have a plan to help their employees, especially when they work for a large organization, help them get acclimated to the new communities they live in. So that's the biggest focus I have right now, is really connecting the dots for these employees to get connected to the community so they're more likely to stay. Employment retention, unemployment is at an all-time low here in my neck of the woods, but retention issues, that's a totally different ballgame. And so I'm really I've got a number of partners that are committed locally here to help with the employee retention for some of these larger organizations. We're testing that model here, and it's in with the hopes that we would be launching that in 2020 statewide in Florida, and then expand into other markets beyond 2020 after we've tested that ground here. So I'm working on a huge initiative right now to engage our employees to help boost retention for some of these larger organizations.
Well, my goodness, if you need a guinea pig or somebody to help train when down in Florida, I'll volunteer, because I love Florida. I've been to Fort Walton Beach on the Panhandle, been on the other side, heading out for a cruise. Love Florida. Who cannot be acclimated to that? I'm thinking, right? But
Yeah, right.
But you're experiencing the reality, and that's I've heard this. You're not the first. You're one of many who've said unemployment's down, but retention is not working at all. I mean, people are flying left and right.
Yeah, people are leaving because they're not committed and they're not connected to something. And I think that I don't know if we'll have a lot of time to go into this aspect today, but I think another key driver, another thing that really motivates me and inspires me is that, when people get connected with another resource or another person that's going to help them in their journey. Like, I know that there is a ton of work to be done as it relates to connecting the dots for people. And at the end of the day, we're all hardwired for connection and inclusion. And so entrepreneurship, that's sometimes is the most isolating aspect, because so much of our journey is alone. So much of what we're doing, especially in the beginning stages of our business, is like figuring all these things out by ourselves. So creating community, and I encourage a lot of our entrepreneurs that are watching tonight, is get in a community. Find your way through getting involved with a civic organization or a trade association. Like, don't just make it virtual. Like, there are tons of resources online, but make it a point to connect in your own backyard, because you'll be surprised. Even if you have an online business, you'll be so amazed at how many resources or how many people need you, or how many people need to know you based on what you provide, but you've got to do that in person. And so you'll feel better. Other people, even if you're an introvert, like, I am actually introverted. Like, a lot of people would look at me and say, oh, you are so not introverted. But my default setting is, basically an introverted personality. But part of the mindset shift for me was just, I had to get out there and do those things and position myself in front of other people that are going to help me soar. So if you are all in that situation where you're feeling a little stuck or a little isolated, I highly recommend you get involved in something in your community.
That's truly on point. Even as an entrepreneur, you made me think about it, because, for me to do that, what you're just saying, I go to events and go to seminars, networking events, what have you, and I get to meet up. Isn't it interesting, Erica, when you first came on, half an hour before we started the show, we had never met before, correct?
Nope.
We've never even spoken audibly to each other before that. We emailed before, right? But we
were emailing, but other than that, no.
Yeah, but the second I saw your face, the second I heard your voice, because I didn't see your face right away, I'm like, I feel like your family, because that's the way entrepreneurs, every event I've ever gone to that's entrepreneur based or has that flair is, I feel like I'm in my second home. It's comfortable, even though, we're taught to get out of our comfort zone, but it has that feel. And it's a great way to get reconnected, as you're saying, and connect with like-minded individuals on that end. Now, when you're an employee, there might be different things that they can go seek out. Maybe go to the gym and go together. Get with the other employees that have been hired recently, or even the ones that haven't been hired recently, and have the ones that have been there for a while, invite them out, things like that. But you're so on point about connection. And then after I've made connections, now I regularly, every single week, talk to one or two at least of those connections, either on the phone or on Zoom video if I can't be with them. So you're very on point with the connection thing. I love that.
Yeah, and I think that anytime when we are stuck, if we just reach out, if we tap into, we don't necessarily have to go seek new people. We can just tap into our existing center of influence. And if you feel like you don't have that quality center of influence now, then to what Brian's point is, take the time to look at networking events or conferences or workshops that are appropriate for your industry, that you are going to meet other professionals and people that are like-minded, so you can feed off of that energy. And that is really what truly is going to propel you. But take the initiative. Like, don't wait for it to come to you. Take the initiative. And I think that's the other point I want to drive home, is that so many of us will just wait for that opportunity, and it ain't coming to you. You got to go out there and get it.
That's so true. That is so true. We call it taking action, right? You got to take action. So changing gears just a little bit, because this is something that every entrepreneur who's struggling wants to know, different ways to get better at getting the word out about their business, i.e. this word called marketing. And I get it, and we all get it. It's multifaceted. I mean, there are so many avenues and ways to market. It's mind-boggling. And so with that, though, that's why I like to ask this question. is, have you found one form of marketing to date in your 4 years of doing this that has worked the best over the others? And if you don't mind sharing, what has that most successful form of marketing been for you?
Yeah, there's a number of things that I do, but one of the most effective is being on somebody else's stage, being on somebody else's, speaking in front of other people's audiences about topics that are relevant to them. And I think that's the important driver there. It's not about what you want to talk about. It's really knowing what that audience is needing. And obviously, like, I am never going to go into a room and talk about neuroscience. Like, that is not my jam. So I'm going to make sure that if I'm speaking in front of an audience, it's going to be on things like relationship building in the business context, communication, teamwork, leadership development, even on some level, marketing and positioning yourself in your verticals. I mean, there's some things that I can do to speak to that. But being in a position to know who your audience is and speaking to that audience, not at them, but really sharing value, sharing knowledge. And then what I find is that I've been able to weave into my topics or into my talks opportunities to where people will literally take pictures of me speaking, and not just because I want them to take pictures of me speaking, but I really want them to take pictures of their experience. And I encourage them to do that so they can then share it with their social media networks. And it's an opportunity. It's kind of this fun little kitschy thing that I do, but it's a way to bridge that gap between what I'm doing offline and what I want to continue to do online to evolve the conversation. So speaking at events and even speaking on podcasts. So, Brian, perfect case and example, we coordinated this opportunity, but it wasn't just like, this is the very first time people are hearing about it. Like, we've been talking, you and I have been talking about it on our platform. So we're going to do this. We're going to do this interview. I'm going to interview Erica. And I'm like, oh, Brian's interviewing me. So I've been able to lead up to this point, sharing that value with people that I've interacted with online, even offline in some of my private conversations. And then on the backside of that, being able to share that. So speaking, whether you're doing virtually or in person, gives you a little more leverage because you do have pictures and documentation that proves that you were there, and you can continue to share like those takeaways or those wins from that moment when you were speaking, and those ahas, and other people can do it for you, which is kind of cool too.
That is so refreshing to hear you say speaking. I love that so much. So few go to that as one of their primary marketing methods, and I'm curious why that is. And we're talking about others that already speak, right? But I can already sense the tension in the air of those who have not yet gone on stage and spoke and said, man, not me, I'm not doing that. Are you kidding me? Because that's like, next to death, it's the scariest thing humans have is public speaking, which I want to ask you a question about that in a moment. But you said so many golden things there. Speaking, you don't just get up and start. Well, some people do, and they're very good at it, but most people don't just get up and start yakking on stage and become good at it, at delivery. So I'm guessing you went through some training or had mentorship or someone giving you some feedback along the way. Have you had something like that to help you in the speaking arena?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a number of resources that I have been utilizing over, and going back to the bio that you read, the lovely introduction. A lot of my fundamental speaking opportunities really came when I was a participant through a local preliminary at the Miss America organization. So I didn't actually compete at a state level or the national level, but I competed in a number of local preliminaries, and it was a wonderful way for me to build my communication skills. A lot of people don't realize this, but they only see the stage presence on a Miss America environment, but there is actually an intense interview that happens behind the scenes, and you're interviewing for the job. And the interview is usually about 5 to 7 judges, if you will, that are interviewing you based on your experience, based on your the reasons why you want the job, your platform. I had to pick a platform something that I like stood for, like a cause that I was going to represent if I win that title, that state title or that national title, if I went to that level. But that really shaped me in a lot of ways because I was able to communicate in a thoughtful way. And then obviously I had a lot of mentors and trainers, and then doing it, that's the other piece. You can learn this all day, every day, but if you don't implement, if you don't like actually go do it in for real life, like I speak all the time and I flub it up all the time. Like I am not a perfect presenter, but I just know that because I'm doing it, like that's affording me the opportunity to earn the right to do it again. And so if anybody that's watching this who is like scared out of their mind to go do it, I just encourage you to start somewhere and just know that you're not going to be gifted at it right away. I've been doing it so many times and I still don't feel like I have it mastered by any stretch of the imagination, but that's the beautiful part. The only way you earn the right to do it more is if you do it in the first place. So get started, do it. Figure it out. You can learn from the best, but you got to work. You got to actually do it.
Absolute words of wisdom. And for those, start on podcasts where nobody can even see you and they're not even live, so they can be edited. That will give you a level of comfort to continue to move forward, or just jump and do it and get on a video show like this and reach out. There are avenues out there where you can, there are resources where you can put your name out there and say, I'd like to appear on your show. I've had many appear on this show as a direct result of that I've never met.
Yeah.
It works. It works phenomenally well. That's phenomenal advice. My goodness. It's like, and for those of you that are nervous, look, every time I come on this show, I have a level of nerves. Every time. I've spoken many times on stage. I've spoken many times in front of this camera. And it doesn't matter how many times. How many of you, can you remember, Erica, a guy named Johnny Carson?
Oh, yes.
You'd be surprised how many people I've asked, never heard of him. So he was the Tonight Show host before Jay Leno, who then preceded our man Jimmy Fallon right now. And Johnny Carson did this every night, just like Jimmy Fallon does, every single night, 5 nights a week. Well, actually 4 nights a week, I found out. They do 2 show tapes on Thursday, but they do 5 shows a week. And every single time, so Johnny admitted that he said right before that curtain opened, he was frightened out of his boots because every single time he had big time nerves. And this is a guy who did it professionally and was loved by millions. Can you imagine? So now you have, I give people, you have permission to be nervous. Now just get out and get on stage and do it.
Yeah.
Because the best of the best do it.
Not to cut you off, sir. So go ahead and finish.
I was done. Go ahead.
Well, Mel Robbins, the author of the 5-Second Rule, that's her most notable book. She has a few other books out, but a lot of people recognize her for that. She even says somewhere in that particular book that there's a difference between like feeling frightened and feeling, and I'm paraphrasing this, but feeling excited.
Yeah.
So if we could like replace that, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed with this, I'm so nervous, I'm so replace that with, I feel really excited. I'm just so thrilled that I get to change people's lives, or I get to interact in a way that's going to expand my message, or whatever it is that you want to, whatever context you want to put it in. But replace that anxiety with excitement. I think that was a really huge takeaway as it relates to speaking.
Yeah, I had 2 tips that were given to me that are gold. And one is right before it's your turn to get up on stage, whatever that happens to be, in front of a camera, a podcast, is take a deep breath, really deep and slow, and let it out, and you'll just feel everything relax. And then if you're still feeling nervous, it's really because you're thinking all about yourself, and about how you're going to look. Do I have something hanging from my nose? All this stuff goes through your head, and that's the problem. And then so at that moment, reframe it and say, well, I wonder how I'm going to impact the audience. How can I do the best job for them? And the second you start going down that path in your mind, you'll notice the calmness start to set in. Yes, there's still anxiety, and it could be excitement, but there's excitement and less nervousness, and you can go crush it after you do those 2 things. So it's amazing stuff.
And you brought up an excellent point about making it about other people. I feel like there's a lot of, if we put it into the context of leaders who are wanting to onboard or bring people into their sphere of influence, whether it's through employees or adding new clients to their book of business, instead of, to your point, instead of making it all about us, it's a very ego-driven thing. If we really truly tap into what other people want, and not be an absolute give up everything that we stand for to make things happen for other people, but if we focus on what other people desire, we're going to get what we want in return. So speaking wise, if you're focused on the audience, you are going to be so much more relaxed and being like, oh my gosh, what do I look like? How am I sounding? If you do that, and then again, onboarding, in the context of a developing team, we're bringing on clients. If you just focus on the other person, you're going to get so much more out of your time and energy spent on those relationships.
It's actually a universal concept, isn't it? Even when you're in the process of doing a sale, you're selling. As long as you're serving, you're selling, and you're doing it successfully. But if you're thinking about how much money you're going to make the whole time you're doing the sale, well, good luck. Good luck.
Yeah, it didn't
happen. So it was interesting that brought up, because you were talking about The Alchemist, the book, and how it wasn't a business book. And right at that moment, it hit me. It's like, isn't everything that is personal development or mindset driven also a business book? Because business is a relationship, isn't it? I mean, there's really not a whole lot of difference, unless you're an online retailer like Amazon and there's really no human interaction except for the reviews you get later. But, when you're talking one-on-one, it's a relationship. Business is a relationship. And that's what that gentleman, when he opened these cabinets, and it looked better than what's behind me, just shelf after shelf of books. And they were all personal development more than actual business, marketing, sales, team building, because he understood. It all started from here. So, talk to Erica, get in contact with her. We're going to show you how to do that here actually kind of soon. My gosh, it always goes by so fast.
Flies by.
Every time. Brigitte says, hi, Erica and Brian. She's on watching.
Hey, Brigitte. What's up?
And Maggie, Kyle, Patrates.
Oh, yes. Hey, Maggie. How's it going?
And Carmen Salome. Everyone's saying hello. Hello.
Hey, Carmen.
I just happened to take a look.
Welcome.
Yes. Nice. Beautiful. So just all this, everything I've noticed, talking to so many people just like you, it always circles back to the core, the foundation is always mindset. Mm-hmm. I didn't know this until I was, it was not long ago, till I was like 46, 47 years old. I didn't realize that was what was holding me back, was I didn't do anything for my mindset that I should have been doing. And now knowing it, I feel so liberated, and oh man, I just love it. I got to shout it from the world. That's part of the reason I'm doing this show, is that it's not coming from me, it's coming from people like you. I'm not the talking head. It's people that are getting, showing their experience, showing their success, their expertise, and every single time, mindset is the core of the whole ball of wax. And that's what I'm loving about this is, if I can implore upon people, just work on your mindset. Neuro-linguistic programming, NLP for short, the science of success. Look into that. Brigitte Hoferle, who is on listening right now, she has an NLP institution in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Connect with her.
Does. Yeah.
Connect with us if you need to connect with her, because we know how to get hold of her.
We got people. We know people.
We got peeps.
Exactly.
There's a lot of things that it takes to become a successful entrepreneur. We get to pool together our resources of experience over life. We've developed many skills, we being, entrepreneurs in general, you, Erica, that you just have all of these skills that you've built that made you successful. Now we're talking skill set. If you were to name just three, what would you say are the top three skills that you've learned to date? Because you'll learn more and master more beyond today. What are three of the top skill sets that you needed to become the success that you are?
Okay, well, this is a tough one, but if we had to narrow it down to three, I'd probably have to say that you got to know what you stand for. You got to be people focused, and you got to be adaptable. Like all three of those components, you know what you stand for. The right people are going to align yourself, or the right people are going to align with you. And it's going to be really easy to find. Like oftentimes in my work, they're like, well, I don't know where to find the right people, whether it's like finding the right clients or finding the right teammates because they're growing as an organization, or the right donors if I'm working with nonprofits in some capacity. But when you know what you stand for, like those people will show up, and like you're just so laser focused in that. But then you also have to have the flexibility to adapt. Like I hear this a lot from, what was it? That Ken Courtright actually says this in one of his first podcast episodes, where he shares the story about Corning, like Corningware, and like how they had to reinvigorate their company or they were going to go under. They literally had 7 months to figure out what they were going to do in terms of like what their number one product was, like getting ready to, like the competition was gobbling it up. And so they were no longer the leader in that world. So they had to think about, well, if we had no more other resources, we couldn't hire anybody. What more could we create with this equipment that we have on nights and weekends that is going to take us out of this slump? And he talks about something called the S curve. I'll have to share the link to the interview. I wasn't expecting that it was going to come up tonight. But adaptability, figuring out like what is it that you got to do. My business has evolved over the last 4 years. It has looked nothing like it did 4 years ago when I started. But if I were still playing that card, I mean, I think I would still be successful in some way, but I don't think I would have evolved, and I certainly wouldn't be able to help the people that I help today without that adaptability and that evolution. So people focus, adaptability, and just know what you stand for goodness sakes. Don't be everything to everybody. Be specific.
All absolute words of wisdom. This is amazing. Yeah. That's the thing. A lot of people want to, who's your target market? Who's your avatar? Everybody. You get that.
Stop it.
Exactly. That's what I always want to go. Okay, who's your target market? Tell me again. And that's so true. Yeah. People focus perfect. Adaptability, we call that flexibility as well. Same thing. I love that. It's so people watching, listening right now, whether you're watching live or listening later as a recording on podcasts, I mean, come on, we're on 9 different platforms live right now, many more that have been shot out and shared, and we're going to be on 15 podcast platforms. You might be listening to that right now after the show's over, kind of like a weird time shift there. So definitely take notes and play this over again like you would read a book over again, because Erica is laying it out. She is giving you the secrets to success.
Thank you.
The thing is, they're not secrets. And that's what too many people think. It's all a big secret. Yeah. Only those people that know, and they won't share. Like, look, we're sharing it right now. Erica is sharing it right now. Every component I've ever read or heard, and not every component I've ever read or heard, but everything she has said so far has been inclusive of everything I've read or heard. And these are the best things that you can concentrate on. Listen to her, take her advice. She's not even giving this as advice, but she is. She's here to serve you and help you. That's why I love having people like her, Brigitte, who was on earlier. I love all of these wonderful people that come on, and gosh darn it, we're near the end, and I don't want to do it. And before we close the show, I want to remind everybody, and Erica, if I forget, you please remind me that you also have a gift for our viewers. But I wanted to ask real quick, based on that whole thing I just blabbed on, was who is your avatar? Who is your perfect client that you're looking for before we go to the gift portion?
Yeah, perfect. So in a nutshell, basically it is that company, that organization that has a significant amount of employees. I mean, somebody that's got anywhere from 100 to 300 employees that is wanting to dramatically improve the employee engagement, retention within the organizations. So that's what I'm focusing on right now, is helping those companies. They do a great job onboarding, I think. Maybe they have issues with that too. Some of them do, some of them don't. But my commitment is to really help them outboard, to really connect with the community that they live in, so they feel more connected with not only their work, but they feel more connected with their purpose and their community, so they stay and they're engaged, and the employee is happy, the employer is happy, and life's good. And then community benefits, because that person is they're staying within the ecosystem of that community. So that is my biggest focus right now, is working with those organizations.
Fantastic. So if you're watching, listening, and you know of a company that Erica's describing, hook her up. That's what we do. We connect each other. I was thinking as you were saying those things, like, who do I know? What companies do I know that you could potentially help? That's what entrepreneurs do. We help each other. even if I was in the same arena, I'd say, okay, I'll find somebody in Florida that's closer to her.
Exactly. And really quick, I just want to jump in here because like that is so vital that you just said that, because like so many people go into that scarcity mindset and say, well, I can't be friends with somebody that's in my industry because they do the same thing. It's like, no. Like you need to align with all sorts of people and those referral partners, because you never know. There might be an opportunity to where that person is going to be a better fit. Like that person you're making friends with is going to be a better fit and can better serve the person. And if you, again, it goes back to people focus. If you're focused on the other person, you are always going to win. Period. The end.
that's exactly. He couldn't have said it better. The serving attitude. That's what makes it all happen. And there's no scarcity in Erica. You could see that right away. Yeah. There's one question, Erica, that I usually I don't end the show with a question because we have a couple more things to do, but that I love to ask as the last question for my guest, and it's kind of it can be deep or it can be light. It's all up to you. But I like to end the show with this because I found the results very interesting with each of the previous ones. But before we jump into that, real quick, for everyone that's been watching live from the beginning or is just here now, you can win a 5-night stay at a 5-star luxury resort in Mexico. And now I'm going to show you exactly how you can enter. And so you now have the permission to go to this website that you see on the screen if you're watching live, or you can send us a text to your phone. So either go to themindbodybusinessshow.com/vacation, all lowercase as you see there, themindbodybusinessshow.com/vacation, and just enter there. Or if it's easier, take out your phone and type in the phone number of 661-535-1624, and then in the message area type the word PEAK, P-E-A-K, and hit send. Again, that's 661-535-1624, and type in the word PEAK, P-E-A-K. And I can't wait. I give a vacation away every single show. I love it. This is sponsored once again by my good buddies over at powertexting.com. And in fact, when you go and enter to win, either through the website or you text the word, that's all being handled by powertexting.com. I am also a client, and they are an amazing. It's a phenomenal service. Highly recommend any entrepreneur out there. You need texting. And you need it. This is a phenomenal system, automated. It's amazing. So go ahead and do that right now, and then we're going to come back to Erica with that wonderful, heavy-hitting question that honestly isn't heavy-hitting. I don't want you to feel that I backed you into a corner and you're getting all nervous, because I know you're a pro and you don't do that.
No, just kidding.
So here's the thing. The thing with this question, Erica, is there is no such thing as a wrong answer. It's impossible. And it's just the opposite. The only correct answer is yours, because it's a personal question to many. And another interesting thing I found, and I can't believe I'm still saying this every show, but to date, no two of my guests have ever said the same exact answer, never given the same exact answer. Some have been a little similar, but no two have been the same. It's awesome. So I'm compiling a book. That's going to be How Do You Define Success? That'll be the title. And I just gave away the question. So, Erica, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Erica Castner, how do you define success?
Well, I say this a lot to, there's a few nonprofit organizations I partner with to really help in their employee development. And one of the things that we say constantly in that program is confidence is won through consistency. So if you are creating or wanting to achieve success in any right or any level, that comes through being consistent. And if you were concerned at all about being confident in those aspects, confidence is one through consistency. And so when we create success, like that wasn't created overnight, that was created by somebody's hard work consistently over time. And so just showing up, making sure that like you're giving it your all. And even if you're half-heartedly doing something, it's still showing up. I mean, I again, we didn't talk about this on a deep level today, but a lot of people don't realize I had two surgeries. One was in the last 4 months. One was pretty significant, but I still showed up every day. Like I was behind the scenes strategically, like it was like the Wizard of Oz, don't pay attention of that woman behind the curtain. But there were a lot of things that I did on the front side to make sure that I didn't look like I was skipping a beat. And there were days where I didn't feel like I was at my ultimate level of awesomeness, but I still showed up and I still made a commitment to put some skin in the game. So even on your worst day, if you're showing up, you're going to learn something from that. Be consistent. That's where the confidence comes through. And I think that's where success is ultimately going to be driven, is through you showing up.
And true to form, unlike any other answer before you. I love it. And it's so awesome. I love it. Confidence is one with consistency. It's the C and the C. They go together. And you said it so eloquently and so perfectly that it's just showing up. And whether you're all in or not, it's just getting in the habit of continuing to show up, because that starts to gain momentum and become a snowball effect. And you just gain confidence and you become more consistent, and your success will then increase. And my goodness, phenomenal. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, you had indicated you had a gift for the peeps. What I wanted to do is pull up, if it's appropriate, pull up your website and let you go ahead and just talk about the gift and how people can get a copy of that gift, which is phenomenal. I'm looking at what it is right now. So I'm going to turn it over to you to explain what that is.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. So for our listeners tonight, or people that are viewing the show, I want to gift you a program that I created a while back, but it's still very relevant today, and it's called Amplify Your Business Results. There's 12 mini lessons inside of the program. It's a self-study program, but it's an opportunity for you to more importantly, find, connect, and convert more of your ideal clients. There's a huge component in there that really shapes how you're communicating with your ideal clients, where to find them, where to interact with them. So if you head on over to thequeenofresults.com/Brian Kelly, I was going to make it like something longer, but then I thought, well, that's way too long. So thequeenofresults.com/Brian Kelly, you can actually just enter a few pieces of contact information, and I will gift that to you. It's a $397 value, and it'll be yours complimentary. So it's my gift to those that are watching the show, just for being you and for you being here and sharing your time with us tonight. So I want to gift that to your audience, or the people that have been watching tonight.
Wow. Thank you so much. I've got it up on the screen right now for those of you watching. That's quite remarkable. I don't know if you indicated the value of that. Nearly $400.
Right? Yeah.
$397.
When I sold that program back in the day, I mean, like I said, I say back in the day, like it sounds like I did it like eons ago, but we did that program last year. And so we are bringing it back for your peeps. And so I want to gift that to y'all. And again, relevant stuff. Love it. It's one of my favorite programs. So I want to gift that to y'all tonight.
So appreciate that. And I like the way that URL rings, it just has a cool sound to it. So one more time, thequeenofresults.com/Brian Kelly.
Brian Kelly.
I like that. That is nice.
I like that guy. Yeah, that guy's awesome.
I love it. And that woman is awesome. Erica Castner, thank you so much for coming on. And one last final thing we want to find out is the absolute best way for people to connect with you, especially those that have connections with companies that have, around 1 to 300 employees that might be able to use your services. I just think every single one of them could, because very few think about what to do after they're there. They just train them and let them go. And,
yeah, exactly.
So what's the best way for folks to get a hold of you?
Well, you can certainly get a hold of me at thequeenofresults.com, but if you follow me over at on LinkedIn, LinkedIn is a perfect way for us to continue the conversation. I'm just simply Erica Castner on LinkedIn, and message me. Let me know what you're working on, what your current areas of focus are, and how I can support you. Even if you don't have a connection for me, reach out to me, because I'm always intrigued by meeting the people that are on the, that are watching, and it's inspiring to connect the dots for people across the world, across the globe. So, Brian, I thank you for giving me that opportunity to connect with new people tonight. So I appreciate that.
Goodness, you're so welcome, and thank you, Erica. You exemplify the word servitude. You serve people. You love to help people, and people watching. She gets it, It's not all about her. It's never been about her. I haven't heard a thing she said about herself yet that is like boasting or bragging or ego-based. It's all about serving others, and I'm so thankful that we were connected so that we could get to know each other on this show as well. So I so appreciate you spending the time. I know it's late there in Florida. It's approaching 10 p.m. And so, again, appreciate you for spending time with us and for dispelling, just, raining value down. I mean, my goodness, this is one of the best interviews I've done and had as far as the guest goes in a long, long time. All of them are phenomenal. But the value was every time you opened your mouth, there was another nugget coming out. So those of you watching, listening, play this back several times as if it were a book that you're reading. You'll get more and more out of it. And just skip to the part where Erica talks. That's the best part. So.
Oh, Brian, you're too kind. Thank you so much for those kind words. I really appreciate it. And you're a tremendous interview, and I appreciate all the things that you're doing to elevate entrepreneurs out there and committed to positioning people from a place of strength and support. So kudos to all the work that you're doing out there. It's much appreciated. You rock, my friend.
Oh, thank you so much, Erica. Man, I think I got a new best friend. All right. All right, well, that is it for tonight. Once again, on behalf of Erica Castner, I am Brian Kelly, the host of the Mind Body Business Show. We will see you again next time, 1 week from tonight. Until then, so long, and be blessed, everyone.
All right, take care, everybody.
Thank you for watching and listening. This has been the Mind Body Business Show with Brian Kelly.